So we say welcome to the studio, Lagos Talks 91.3 FM, and it's a Monday edition of what we do right here at 9 a.m. And this time we should be going straight into Oluwakayode and the Guru, but today is a special view at whatever is happening in Nigeria. And what is happening right now is that today marks 99 days of the present administration, 99 days of President Bola Tinubu's government, and we're looking at the achievements, the failures, the underachievements, maybe that sounds better. The achievements, the underachievements. We're looking at the good, the bad, the ugly. We're looking at all that has happened during this 99 days. So the entire week, like we've been announcing for the past 1 week, we're taking a look at different sectors, different activities and steps that he's done, different subjects, just to bring to Nigerians the kind of governance and information that we need to make things happen. My name is Oluwakayode. I'm being joined in the studio right now by Mr. Godwin Etakibwebu, who is here with me. And of course, we have our panelists who will be introducing very, very soon. 99 days today. Tomorrow is 100 days. But of course, up until the 103rd day, we will keep talking about what this government is doing. What are your views? Join this conversation right now on Facebook at Lagos Talks 913. We are live on Facebook at Lagos Talks 913. My panelists are there. They're ready, and we're getting the show started. But first, the Guru. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Oluwakayode. How are you doing?
Not bad at all, sir. Not bad at all. We're doing quite well right here, the Guru.
How have you been feeling within the past 99 days?
It's been 99 days of unpredictability, one could say. It's been 99 days of events that are happening around us, because we know that in these 99 days, so many things have happened that many have said, well, this is good. And at the same time, some have said this is bad. But we are where we are right now. What about you, sir?
99 days?
Yes.
Are you asking about the past 99 days?
Exactly.
Or the incoming 99 days? Okay, you are welcome. This section is Oluwakayode and the Guru. Good morning. This is Lagos Talks 91.3 FM. Today we are having a shift, like Kayode has just announced. We've had President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the seat as the driver of the national vehicle for the past 99 days. Quite a good time to evaluate. Quite a good time to ask the questions. His starting point, is he doing very well? Are there indications that tomorrow might be better off? Is there any hope within what he has done or he has not done to show that Nigerians will be moving towards, all things being equal, moving towards good days ahead, like Pastor Adeboye said yesterday, the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, who said yesterday that the Naira shall soon become equivalent to dollar, or maybe higher than dollar, and he said it will actually happen. Either he was prophesying, I wouldn't know, either he was praying, either it was a prayer point, either he was prophesying, either he was making observation, but he spoke with authority. And as a man of God with authority who has been respected over the years, we want to think. So this is the time now to evaluate that for the past 99 years, by tomorrow shall be past 100 years. Where are we headed to? Where was that point we left? So these are what we are here to do. But first of all, let me give us what I termed Periscope. For a long time, we've not gone with the Periscope. Of recent, the Federal Road Safety Corps, with Lagos State government, have been tough on car owners or vehicle owners, let me say, but more of car owners, because the plate numbers of those cars have just been seen now that they keep on depreciating on daily basis. Maybe it's like when you use something like fake paint to paint your house. When the sun starts shining within some days, the quality of the paint is known, it's reflective. So it fades away. Maybe if you use the type of paint that Godwin Emefiele used, he painted the Naira at a time, that not survived for too long before fading away. So plate numbers are fading away. The question is that the Federal Road Safety Corps are not organization owned by the federal government 100%. That is responsible for vehicle, for safety, for driving on the road, for plate numbers, has fallen so hard on drivers and their vehicles that they must be punished. Then Lagos State, about a few weeks ago, had in fact charged some people to court for using fake, they call it fake plate number. Periscope today, we want to evaluate that. In the first place, who owned the plate numbers that is allocated to owner of the vehicle? It is owned by the government. It is owned by the government. It is printed, it is manufactured. So if the sun causes depreciation of the plate number, the car that the plate number is attached to is not depreciated, meaning the paint at the point of producing the car that is on the body of the car has durability, has stamina, has everything better than the paint that is used for the plate number. Now, if the government that owns the plate number is now accusing the owner of the car, the government tax you that you must pay so much for your plate number, and you paid, and the government allocated the plate number, and once it is allocated, it becomes your property. That is, when you are selling your car, you must not sell the plate number, because the plate number is your property. The government that manufactured the plate number, the government that charged you that this is how much you have to pay for the plate number, and now the plate number has been discovered to be fake or has no durability on the paint, the quality is lost. Who should be charged to court to be held responsible for that fraction, for that aspect of the thing? Is it the government through the representative? In this case, should that be FRSC that ought to be charged for producing something fake and forcing the citizen to pay heavy money for that fake product? But instead, it is the government and that agent that brought the fake to the market that is now charging the citizen that you have to pay this much. And nobody is speaking in Nigeria. Nobody is talking. That no, let it go the other way around. So Periscope will just be very brief because of the importance of what we are doing today. But we are not finished yet. Maybe next week, Monday, when the evaluation of the 100 days would have come and gone, we will return back to this issue. And we will now seek opinion. And what happened with the plate number is what is happening to many things in Nigeria. A situation that the government ought to provide this and provide that, and you, the citizen, you are asked to pay this amount much. And in most cases, there are no negotiation of your ability or your capability to pay for it or not. You are charged to pay, and you pay. Then every fraction, every inadequacy of that subject is now coming to the citizen as a liability of the citizen. I see no reason why the citizen should be made to carry vicarious liability of the fraud that is originated by the government. So, but until we really establish this factor, and until many people will go to court to say, hey, come here, this should not be so, I think Lagos State government and the Federal Road Safety Services or calls should stop that embarrassment. The same way that the vehicle inspection officers of Lagos State are still on the road today demanding for roadworthiness, your paper, your this. When a competent court with full jurisdiction in this country, in this case we are talking of Court of Appeal, had decreed by judgment. I just use the word decree. I know I'm not in Gabon, so I just use the word decree. Had said in a judgment that the VIO had no business going on the road, not even to ask of roadworthiness, and even cars are not to be asked for roadworthiness. But you still see vehicle VIOs spreading all over Lagos, still asking for this thing. I think time for this to stop. Then finally, let me just remind us that General Onigwe Giama, the man who is now is he head of state? He declared himself in Gabon. I'm talking. Is he head of state?
Head of state.
Head of state. He declared himself head of state. Is a matter of fact first cousin to the man he dethroned. I'm not saying that it is wrong if you want to remove somebody who you believe is corrupt, that either it's done by first cousin or not. But the military coup in Gabon has another angle, and that is the angle that could it be that the military came in to safeguard the property and the dynasty of the family of the man they said they dethroned. That is something the man dethroned himself is a man over the years has a battles hanging on him by saying that he was adopted from Nigeria during the Nigeria Civil War. But he has always refuted that no, he was not. So we just have to look at that. And this is being suspended also till next week Monday. And look at what has happened in Africa within the next 7 years. Within the last 7 years. Within the last 7 years, 7 coups have taken place in Africa. 2 in Burkina Faso, 2 in Mali, 1 in Sudan, Niger Republic, 1, and now Gabon had joined. Is how serious a coup the one that is coming from Gabon? This we are postponing till next week Monday, and this court adjourns. God.
All right, and that note, let's get into the conversation for today. Let's start the conversation. 100 days or 99 days today and counting. How does your life feel? How do you feel? Do you feel like, do you wake up every morning believing that I have a new president and I have hope? Do you wake up every morning believing that, I have a new president and I don't even, its life is worse than it was? Or do you just wake up and all you tell yourself is, I don't even understand. Where are we going? But this government started on the 29th of May. Take a listen to how the government of President Tinubu started.
That no provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
And with those words, fuel subsidy is gone, everything, it marked the new beginning. With those words, fuel subsidy is gone. Nigeria began a new journey. A journey to where many are still uncertain about. Well, so you could still call it a journey of uncertainties, because before the President Buhari government came into power, there were talks that Nigeria was nosediving economically. And President Buhari came, did what he could do. Nigeria didn't get that better. And now we have a new president. So with those words, and things took a new turn. I know generally in life, words matter a lot. Everything has to be was made through words. The power of words are important. Political decisions, social, advancement, economic achievement. For anything to happen, one man had to speak or give a directive. And subsidy is gone. The president has spoken. Many panicked. Many others were excited, saying finally the white elephant is gone. Some others, however, took advantage of this because they saw an opportunity to harvest where they had not sowed. But those words mark the dramatic beginning, like I said, of the government of the man that many described as the most prepared president Nigeria has ever had. 99 days into the structured ideology of this man referred to as the Jagaban. Beyond the pains a lot of us feel, and which many have likened to the trauma and the stress of labor, which could lead to hysteria, if not properly managed, or the joy which some have also expressed, judging by the tough decisions that the current president has taken and which they believe will birth a new Nigeria. Let's hear what the experts have to say today and about the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. You've heard one of the experts who is here with us 3 times a week and giving us insight. An example of what he just did today is Periscope. letting us know from a different angle what really is happening. Once again, let's welcome Mr. Godwin Etakeboebu. Good morning to you once again, sir.
Good morning to you. Second time we did the next 20 minutes. Good morning to you.
And
good morning to our audience again.
Yes, sir.
Worldwide. Mm-hmm. And our guests that are sitting far away from us but are with us technologically. I salute to.
That's it. All right, so let's go all the way to Bayelsa right now, where we are joined by Mr. James. Mr. James Ugochukwu. He is a member, should I say member, or is a co-convener of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. Thanks for having me on the show again.
All right, thank you for joining us. And let's go all the way to Kaduna, where we're going to a professor in the NDA, Nigeria Defense Academy. He's a professor of federalism and strategic studies. And that's Professor Toba Alabi. Good morning to you, sir. We can hear you. If you could unmute yourself and join the conversation this morning, Professor Toba Alabi. All right. We're just waiting for him to unmute so that Nigerians could hear. He's joining all the way from Kaduna. We can hear you. If you could just unmute yourself so that we could hear you clearer.
Please, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Good morning to you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for making our time. We can hear you, but we can't see you clearly. Yes, now you're better. Great. And Nigerians, we are live on social media. We are live right now on Facebook. You can join us, watch us live from wherever you are in the world. And just look for us at Lagos Talks 913. That is where you join the conversation. We're joined by another senior colleague of mine who's here with us in the studio, but we'll introduce him to you later on as he'll be joining the conversation. But let's start today. The Guru.
Yes, please.
99 days gone. Like the saying goes, hit the ground running. Day one, he appointed protocols. 4 days into his leadership, he appointed the SGF and the Chief of Staff. 10 days down, he started doing the reforms that he promised, where he signed, he unified the judiciary retirement age. That was like 10 days into that. Few days after that, by the 17th day, we had the big deal about the unification of the currency. And it goes on and on, appointment of SAs and a lot of activities. Meeting monarchs, meeting company executives, meeting people across parties, across party lines, and different ideologies. In your view, sir, of course, we'll be doing this together, but it's just good for you to stop before we bring the others in. How would you describe the president's first 100 days?
The President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, first 100 days is nothing but a complete mixed grade. Like as you said in your introduction,
yes, sir,
which was nothing but fact, the most prepared of all the candidates for the office of the President of Nigeria, in my own interpretation, which I am entitled to, we are not robots, so we must not all conspire to agree on a point. The differences in agreement makes us what we are, human beings. Of all those that went into the contest, he was the most prepared man. I want to believe that for the past 30 years, this man must have put his hand on the plow. And at no point did he attempt looking back. So when he went into the campaign, he spoke with authority of a man that it was his turn to rule, not reign.
To rule?
Yes. And he came, he was to admit to us that the removal of subsidy at the date he did, at the point he did, at that time he did, that must have been around 11 o'clock or thereby of 29th of May, which was a Monday. He said it was not included in the speech handed over to him by Dele Alake and they do. He said the spirit of boldness just came into him and said, the budget I inherited has nothing like subsidy. So consider subsidy gone. he demonstrated it even with energy.
Mm.
That became a statement very, very vital to deciding his incoming days, his incoming years. Because by that statement, two things came as a fallout. One, as of that date, there was subsidy. As of 29 May, the subsidy that was included in the budget inherited elongated to 30th of June 2023. So when he said there was no subsidy in that budget, that might not be the truth.
All right.
So that became one.
Okay.
Two, he made the statement before, as events later showed, before thinking of the alternatives, which will become palliative of the subsidy removal. It means some people will look at it like, okay, the alternatives that would have brought the thing with, that would have announced removal with remedy to Nigerians was not put in place.
All right.
So there's people now. Just
we'll come back to the details. Just wanted an overview first, so that everybody gives an overview of how the first 100 days.
Okay, but please let me drop this as part of the overview.
Okay.
So, which means it may not make people to ask a question: was he still campaigning at that moment on 29th of May, or what was he doing?
Okay, so let's go to you, Mr. James Ugochukwu. You were part of the election from the campaign season till the inauguration, and you were putting pressure on government, asking the government to live up to expectation, telling the government what the people want. But in your view, how would you describe the first 100 days of President Bola Tinubu?
Okay, thanks for having me once more. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so the first 100 days in office is a mix of some achievements and many expectations unfulfilled. Now, just like your colleague said, words are powerful, and if the words are coming from a leader, it becomes that much more. The rude shock that it gave to Nigeria as a gift is that of announcing subsidy removal. As we all know, in the 2023 appropriation bill, the subsidy regime continues till the end of June. Now, we should know that mere pronunciation can lead to a lot of ripple effects in a country that depends on petroleum for its existence. Use it for business, for transportation, for running our business, because we still have not solved our power problems. Everything revolves in it, and immediately made that pronunciation. Even though subsidy regime is still remaining till the 30th of that month, we saw panic everywhere, and the resultant effect is the jack up in the pump price. Now, this is just a summary from that side. Can I talk of the value of our currency? Now our currency is performing abysmally poor in the forex market. To the point that we are now having almost 1,000 naira per dollar. You know, that one is dead. That issue has not been solved as we speak. That free floating of naira is not a well thought of policy, or if it's well thought of in their own estimation, we cannot say that the free floating has affected us positively in terms of solidifying our naira. Now, let's talk of unemployment rate. It's so ridiculous that the current National Bureau of Statistics figure saying that unemployment has dropped. So I'm still looking for the indices they used in measuring that. But the last time I checked, most multinational companies like Glasgow, Midclimb are closing shop and leaving the country. Guinness is even being rumored that they are about to close the country. So where are they getting the figure from? Because we should have a government agency that should be telling us the truth. Yamina Kayode, the former head of National Bureau of Statistics, used to give us punchy indices, realistic as the things are. The talk of foreign policies with the issue of Niger Q and the ripple effect on Nigeria and the push by different interests for Nigeria to go to war is still another issue. We're looking at a country that have not solved this problem, tinkering or flirting with the thought of going to war to another country. That is unthinkable. And of course, despite the fact that other interest groups like the Northern Senators Forum, most Northern group have advised against that. Even the Senate have rejected that. They are still push, and of course, there's this flirting of the thought of going to war to Niger and all that. Then insecurity. Insecurity has not abated since the first 100-day office. We still have many local government under the occupation of the bandits and the non-state actors.
Oh, we're having connection challenges there.
In South for can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Come, you kindly wrap up on that. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm talking about insecurity, that we still have about 23 local governments under the occupation of the non-state actors. We had about 36 or thereabout of our military men being killed in a plane crash, of which we have not been able to establish if the plane was brought down by bandits or it was just a normal crash. So in summary, well, the president and his cabinet has a lot of work to do. And of course, even the forming of the cabinet coming at the last hours of the deadline is not commendable, because I expected him, just as your colleague said, he has been planning for this. I expected him to have the list of his ministers and hit the ground running in the first 30 days in office. But the whole thing dragging for almost 60 days is something that I cannot, place the reason why it is. Because the country that they inherited has a lot of work to do. They have a lot of patching to do. And as we say, there should be difference between campaign period and the execution period. It's the execution period we are in. And this is a period that they should be hitting the ground running without blaming anybody. Because if you are taking over the mantle of leadership of Nigeria, you should know what you are getting into. You should not be referring to any past administration or whatever you get, because you know all this before getting into it. So I wish him the best, and I hope another challenge to cap it up could be the challenge of his legitimacy at the courts. And that is why we in the civil society have been clamoring that election petition should be done with before swearing in executive. Because if I'm the one in the government, I will be distracted, going to court, trying to defend whether I win the election or something. It's not an easy task for somebody that is sitting on the throne. So that could be another factor that distracting. I'm not holding brief for him anymore.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's go all the way to Kaduna, where Professor Alabi is joining us from. Prof, let's hear you. Kindly connect with us. Let's hear your thoughts this morning. The first 100 days, how has that been for you? All right, Prof, if you can unmute yourself so that we could have you join us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you so much for having me. This is my second time of featuring on this radio station.
Yes, sir.
Well, 100 days or 99 days, as the case may be, we are now having the Tinubu government. Buhari is gone. And in the past 100 days or 99 days, a lot of things have happened.
Okay.
And I want to classify this into two segments, domestic and foreign. Well, at the domestic level, the president has been able to form his cabinet. He has been able to appoint his ministers that will help him in running the affairs of the country. At least he was able to satisfy the 60 mandatory days. So he has done that. Whether these ministers will perform or not is a question of let us wait and see what will happen. So he has done that. Then at the economic level, the removal of the subsidy is the major issue now that is affecting Nigerians. It has a lot of effects on Nigerians. The cost of living has risen so high, the inflationary spiral is so high, and the standard of living of Nigerians, is falling. So it's a major issue that I think the issue of the economy is a major one that he has to contend with within a very short time, so that he can give Nigerians a new lease of life. That's at the level of the economy, because the economy is the structure on which all other superstructures are laid. If the economy is not strong, you can do little or nothing. So let's hope that the removal of subsidy will have a positive effect. But as it is now, Nigerians are really in economic agony, hoping that things will get better. Then, in terms of security, I think, it depends on where you are looking at it. In Niger State, maybe in Zamfara and other places, there are issues there. But by and large, I think from Kaduna, Abuja axis to Kano, I think things are getting better. I traveled by road in my car to Abuja last week. I couldn't do that in the past 5 years. So the issue of security is something that he has to continue to work on. So that's very sacrosanct as far as the issue of Nigeria's development is concerned. Well, at the foreign scene, everybody is aware of the coup in Niger Republic and the threat of ECOWAS to go into war with that country to restore constitutional order there. Well, I think the issue of going to war does not arise at all. So that's that. But I want to salute the courage of the president in making it clear to the coupists that military adventurism and praetorianism will not be acceptable in Nigeria, in West Africa. The military coupists, wherever they are, or whenever they come in, they present a picture of messiahs. At the end of the day, they worsen the situation. No matter the challenges Nigeria is having, or West Africa is having, or Africa is having today, we should at least still have civil rule or democratic rule, as the case may be. I'm opposed to a military rule. India has had its own challenges since 1947. It has military forces. Right. They have never had intervening. Okay. So that's one. Then the issue of the coup in Gabon is another one. But I want to say this: those people that make peaceful change impossible make violent change inevitable. If we look at most of what we have in Africa today, in terms of election, in terms of civil governance, they are mostly frauds. And until these issues are addressed, we continue to have this. Okay. So I think for Tinubu to say that there will be no military coup in West Africa, I think he has to talk to his other foreign.
How? All right. Okay. All right. Now let's come back to the studio and just have that conversation. We've all spoken about the first 100 days, and it is safe to conclude from all what has been said thus far that it is quite a gloomy 99 days. Beyond, is there any hope for Nigeria looking at the activities of this first 100 days? Is there anything reassuring that Nigerians can hold on to that, listen, well, with this, it will work? Beyond the notion that it's the most prepared, which a lot of people are complaining about right now, what is there to hold on to? Let Mr. Takibuebu handle that in the studio. We'll come back to you, Prof.
There are many things. We should not lose hope. I am very, very hopeful of a greater Nigeria. And that greater Nigeria is going to start somewhere.
Is that hope coming from your self-inspiration or from steps or body language of the present administration?
Either it comes from my self-estimation or from somewhere. There is hope in me But we are here to discuss the first 100 days. So based on that, when palliative matter came, the same president who removed the subsidy when it was still sub-existing came to say there will be palliative. And he jumped to the conclusion that 8,000 naira shall be paid to the poorest of Nigerians. And the platform they used in driving that was not different from the platform that President Muhammadu Buhari deployed all those years. Now, the whole world shouted, and the man within 24 hours withdrew that 80,000. He said, no, it should be worked up. Meaning, he listened, he heard the people, and he knew what he placed before them was not acceptable to them. That must be the reason. So we should now just oppose that against what would have been the procedure in the past 80 years under the APC. We should not forget something. What changed, the command structure that changed, was the individual sitting as president of Nigeria. But the same political party policy that brought Nigeria to the disaster level, which is APC, remains in power. And he told us that he was going to continue with the Buhari legacy. Of course, that was reasonable for him to have said as of that time, because if he did not say that, the Buhari cabal wouldn't have allowed him, whatever happened, would have dumped him somewhere along the line. So for him, because for the past 8 years, Buhari will never review things like that. He will never. This man reviewed it. He said, hold on a moment. Okay, 8,000 naira, that must be error. Let us review it. That's number one. Number two, informing board for NDDC. Just recently, there was great protest from Ondo State. There was great protest from Cross River State. And the man thought of it. And he saw what the people were presenting would be good. He changed the nominees. He reversed them. Again, that wouldn't have happened under President Muhammadu Buhari, because that one would have just said as if he had nothing, seen nothing, dealing freely in the other room that gave him the time to operate at the upper room.
But what about the Mustawa?
To me,
he hasn't done anything about that as of now. The Minister for the Culture, Mustawa.
Okay,
Minister.
You want? We have a lot of guests in this show.
Yeah.
But if you say that Bola Tinubu has spoken to you through his representatives, they are now telling you that what happened with that woman is that she's being called to serve, to serve. And they are now differentiating when you are called to serve your country from when you are given an appointment. They are now telling us that she may not be having a structured salary, which is not true. If it's a minister, there is salary attached to that office. They are now telling you that she will only be given allowances in continuation as a National Youth Service Corps member.
I know that's not what we are going into, but just for clarity, does it then mean that now NYSC has given her a new?
That will really detail. Which I am not willing to go now
into today. Yeah.
But you said he has not done anything reversal. He has spoken to you through his representative, and the representative are telling you. Even imagine this man from Ibadan. Is it Adelabo Alau, who said that he served as a local government chairman without presentation of National Youth Service Corps. He served as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria without presentation of a National Youth Service. He mentioned another place that he served without it. To him, there was nothing in Nigeria that we do this. And don't forget, if you ask that question, don't forget that the quality of Nigeria and its laws are being devalued on daily basis by every successive government. More so when we have gotten governments or when we started dealing with presidency that will have to come and affirm certificate or not affirm until God will help us when we shall come out of that controversy. So for the fact that he has picked a few things which he announced and said, okay, let us review them again, it's an indication that he might. If he continues like that, he will want to hear from the people. And if he refers what people are saying, to me, that will be an issue. But it is not left for the people never to sleep on their rights.
Great. It's a good way to anchor it. Let's go to you in Bayelsa, Mr. James Ugochukwu. Now, with what the guru just said, it is obvious that, well, he has listened to the people, and, well, Nigerians might be up for a good governance at some point to address our issues. But is that any indication that Nigeria will be properly run or has been properly run beyond the policy mismatch, like you stated, and how the policy has not gone in favor of the people as at now? Has Nigeria been properly run constitutionally, or have we broken any laws or had any faux pas as at now? Mr. Ogochukwu.
Okay, I can hear you very well. So what we are looking at here is a human being like us, and the good thing is he is quick to notice when people are having dissenting voice, and of course he turned around to.
All right, that network break.
Have a policy. Good.
Okay.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so that for me is a good indication that we have a listening president. Of course, his cabinet members are listening to what is happening, and of course, those that have been appointed recently know the humongous task ahead of them, and of course, they know that they have a very politically conscious society, more than what we used to have before. So conversation like this will be reverberating across the country, across the airwaves, across the print media, pointing out what they are doing well and what they are not doing well. And that is the beauty of democracy, ability for the people to participate in the governance of their country. So for me, I'm optimistic. And of course, I'm hoping that as the new ministers are hitting the ground running, they should be looking at challenges in their different ministries and fixing it as it is. Just some couple of hours ago, the Minister of Work said that any state governor, anybody that wants to fix federal roads should just let him know, and he will give them approval within 1 hour. That can even give them approval on WhatsApp while they tidy up the remaining paperwork and all that. And these are the things that we are going to use to hold him responsible. If after the next 100 days we don't see federal roads being fixed, yesterday I passed through East-West Road, it's still as bad as it used to be. I see the Sukuk bond project signpost across the road, and I can't see any work going on there. So these are the things we should be looking at. The railways and all that are still there. We should be looking at that. The aviation sector, we should be looking at that. The health sector, I mean, name every other sector. So we are hoping that these ones are going to, to do what their predecessor did.
All right. Now you've spoken about ministers. Since I'm still on you, I would like you just touch on this before I go to Prof in Kaduna. Now, you've spoken about ministers and the expectations, but look at the process of appointing the ministers. Look at the ministries that we have. Look at the choice of the individuals heading these ministries. What does that say about the president's plan and what the future of Nigeria? Can anything good come from these ministers?
I think when it comes to the appointment now, we are looking at commitment on the part of the ministers. Very few of them are new, and very few of them are, or most of them are ex-ministers, not to talk of those that are being state governors. So the point I'm making is that they have enough experience to run any ministry that they have been given to. Talking about square peg and square hole, well, I'm not in that school of thought that you must be a lawyer before you can be in a particular position, or engineer to be in a particular position. That's why you have permanent secretaries and advisors and all that. It takes commitment from you as an elected minister to carry out your duties. That's exactly what my own thought is. So for those of them that are ex-governors, of course, administration is not a new thing to them. So we should be holding them squarely accountable for their performance or lack of it. So for me, the ministers they've been appointed, and I cannot say that this one is good or not. What I want them to do is to shock us that, yes, you think I'm not good for this, but I can do better than this. For instance, now somebody like Festus Keyamo, who are hoping that is going to be appointed as Minister of Justice and Attorney General, but he was given the aviation minister. Fine. Lawyer like Fani Kayode was given an aviation minister at some point. So what does it take? It's for him to consult with all the MDAs and have the political will to perform very well. Our departments are in shambles, and they are hoping that these ministers are going to hit the ground running without any further ado to put things in place. Our ministers as well, out of the need to get youths included in this government, the president has gone to pick even a serving NYSC member as a minister. So for those ones now representing the youth, we hold them responsible if they don't perform very well, because we are crying or agitating for the inclusion of youth in the governance of this country. So let them not be a bad example as minister. They should perform very well, so that by the time we are doing Sorosoke for youth, everybody will support that it's youth o'clock.
All right. And we have a guest who's joined us. Well, should I say a guest or a part of the family who's joined us in the studio to be a part of today's conversation? You know that he appears twice a week. And knowing how dear Nigeria is to his heart, he decided to give us a surprise visit in the studio this morning. So we'll bring him on to also lend his voice to this conversation on governance. His name is Mr. Adeni Ikunu. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Kayode, and I want to say thank you for having me in the studio today.
Great. Thank you for coming through. We do appreciate your time you're spending with us. So largely looking at where we are as Nigerians, we were speaking about ministers, and we're wondering that ministers have been appointed. We've seen some ministries removed, some new ones, nomenclature of ministries have been changed. It seems that some ministries have been refocused, some have been separated, solid minerals, the ministry on its own. In your view, looking at the directives or the direction of the president as it pertains with ministries, what do you think the president wants to achieve? What do you think is the core of the president reading the choice of ministers and appointments?
Well, I have my challenges defining what the president wants, because I want to latch on to what the Guru said.
Okay.
He particularly mentioned two policies, one of which, of course, is the petroleum industry and what happened there. Now, according to the rule books, we're talking about the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act that should take effect since 1st of July 2023. If, for instance, they talk about the end of subsidy, which first of all, the president violated, because when you assumed office and you mentioned that, you'd have also clarified that there is subsidy according to the arrangement of the predecessor of the end of June. You didn't do that. Now, the president assumed office and removed subsidy effectively, but there's a challenge here. And the challenge is Section 139 of the Constitution, as well as Section 142(2), prevents the president from actually even holding another office. So if the president has declared that all other ministries are ministers, why is it that we don't have a substantive minister of petroleum resources? That is first. The president should have actually implemented since 1st of July the Petroleum Industry Act. We know that the country intends to get about 3 billion from the Afrexim Bank. And recently, the National Security Advisor told us that about 400,000 barrels gets missing every day, which is to the tune of about $4 million US. If we did a calculation of that, we wouldn't have been needing to go to the Afrexim Bank. That's one part. Then we also are aware that from properly documented proof and findings done, the unlocking of the Petroleum Industry Act would have helped Nigeria to get about $50 billion US in investment. So if we have opportunity of getting $50 billion in investment, why are we not implementing it? Then at the same time, if you're talking about not having a minister, the Petroleum Industry Act demands that there is a minister and not the president. Section 139 prevents the president from holding another executive role, which of course is a ministerial position. And Section 147(2) also requires that if anybody is to become a minister, the person has to be screened. So not having somebody who is a substantive minister is actually in contravention of whatever it is that the president wants to do. So for me, you cannot remove subsidy on one hand, and you are not required to go to the dust on another. So that is one part where the president has not done all right. Now, within the same period, sir, within the same 100 days, this president has given lawmakers palliative, as announced by the Senate president. The president has not deemed it fit that even if he has given the marching order for states to provide the social register, the social registers are already ready and the palliatives have been given. Now, Labour will likely begin strike tomorrow based on failed promises. So I'm just looking at all of this. No matter what the president has done with his intentions, I think that the rule books are very superior to whatever it is that he intends to do. I respect all the difficult policies in bringing out, but what is it that is using to balance the scales of this difficulty? I've not seen. So when we talk about leadership, empathy is very key. Sympathy is equally key. And understanding that these people are dying every day. Our friend in Bayelsa initially talked about the recent statistic churned out by the current statistician general of the country. I think it's all falsehood. When you have wars, things are not the same economically. It affects the stock exchange market and every other thing. So when you have all of these things affected, how are you saying that there's an improvement? Well, more people lose their jobs.
All right.
So how do you tell us that the figures are good? And I think that if anybody ever deserved an extension of time, it is, of course, Dr. Yemi Kale, the former statistician general of the country, who kept bringing out the figures regardless of whatever anybody tells him. So I think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to do a genuine review of how he has led the country. If he did a genuine review and is humble enough, because when you do a genuine review and you find yourself wrong, you don't allow your ego stand in your way, and you don't only read executive summaries. He will understand that he has not given the real deal to the Nigerian people. That's what I want to argue, sir.
Okay, so thank you for that. Now, let's go back to Kaduna right now. And Prof, you are a professor of federalism and strategic studies. Now, in your line of studies and year of service to Nigeria and all the researches you've done, what does the Constitution say about a national service personnel servant taking up an appointment as a minister of the Federal Republic? Is that allowed constitutionally? Kindly unmute and go ahead with your conversation, sir.
Thank you so much. Before I comment on that, I want to talk a little about the appointment of these ministers.
Okay, sir.
Yes, because what we had in the National Assembly was a blind review. If the president is sending a list of ministers to the National Assembly, to the Senate to be precise, I was thinking that the portfolio, their offices should have been attached to each name, so that when you want to question them, you want to interview them, you know the right questions to ask. But in this case, it was a blind one. So for me, that was a very serious problem. And like this youth copper you are talking about, if as of the time she was being screened, everything was clear. Okay, you'll be appointed as this minister, as this and that. You know, the Senate members will have been able to ask relevant questions. So that's a major flaw as far as this appointment is concerned. Well, with regards to the president, about being a listening president, I think he is a good listener. When the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, when they were having problems and they threatened to go on strike, he met with them one-on-one. For the 8 months that ASU was on strike, President Buhari never met with them. So to that extent, I think the president, as a listening president, we have a lot of things achieved if he continues within that respect. Well, as for federalism and the appointment of a youth copper, well, I think that one will be left to maybe the lawyers to interpret the constitution. But what I want to say about federalism here is that the distributive federalism we have currently, in which the 774 local governments in Nigeria and the 36 state governments we go to the center every month to distribute the resources, will never make Nigeria to develop. The other time I said that the economy is the infrastructure on which all other superstructures are laid. When Buhari was there, everything was difficult. Tinubu is there, everything is difficult as well, until we go back to the basics. And these basics are the Nigerian economic challenges. Nigeria is a monocultural economy. Overwhelming aspects of our budget depend on the petroleum sector. Until we diversify this our revenue economy base and bring in solid minerals and the other stuff, Nigeria will not develop. Now, the president can act within the limits of the economic resources of the country. When you depend on only one resource for whichever programs you have, nothing will change. As for the removal of the subsidy, I want to talk about that. That, for now, is the right thing to do, because we don't do that, the sheer weight of the economic problems we'll be having will make it difficult for Tinubu to run the government. We can't continue to borrow money every time. So when Buhari was there, it was borrowing and borrowing all the way. What happened? Things continue to get worse. The only aspect of this palliative that is concerning to me is not having sufficient palliatives for the citizens of Nigeria. That should have been done before you start thinking of removing the subsidy. But by and large, whether Nigerians will have a better lease of life depends largely on the governors. Now, these little palliatives that he has come up with have been given to the governors. How they are going to administer these palliatives is very critical. If Nigeria is ever going to develop at all, the state governors have a lot of work to do, because about over 90% of Nigerians come under their rule and control. And if you look at most of the activities of these governors, they are scary, salaries are not paid, they are owing salaries and so on and so forth. So there is a little the president can do. He's only supposed to set the framework and come up with the programs. Right. But the majority of the work can only be done at the state government. Well, for the issue of copper, depends on how, that one is not a serious issue as far as the economic crisis and the national affairs of Nigeria are concerned today. Thank you.
All right, then. Now, let's come back to the studio, sir, and the Guru. On the appointments made by President Bola Tinubu, when you see these appointments and you see what the steps or the directives of the appointment of the president, which is, okay, we're having solid mineral, and you see the class of the personality that handle a lot of these ministries, what comes to mind? Is it business as usual? Is there anything new coming out of, are we looking at the birth of a new Nigeria?
Shouldn't we be waiting for the end to justify the means? Because the saying is that let the end, if I break your head, break your leg, and able to drag you to an end of successful government deployment, then the breaking of your legs, breaking of your head, which at the initial is nothing but reflection of criminality, will be justified at the end of the day. If I didn't do this to you, I wouldn't have been able to bring you this here.
Yeah, so I'm asking this, sir, just to answer to buttress that, there's this saying in Yoruba that the older ones say that, and there's another one I can't remember, it just escaped me while I was trying to chip in this. So shouldn't there be an indication? Is there any indication?
No. I have said something where the names were mentioned.
Okay.
It isn't that every person Buhari appointed as a minister. You cannot refer to one that, nothing in the head. No. in their own rights, they must be brilliant somewhere. But however, the body language of the man appointed them told them the course they should take. And they took that course, and that became the course of sitting down at gradation, taking everything that came their way, not depositing it at the benefit of Nigerians. That is number one. Number two, let's go back to Madam Yukoba. Either the president attached ministerial portfolio to the review that would have taken or that took place in the Senate or not. When people are nominated to become minister, their names are not, the first port of call is not the Senate. The names are sent to security agencies. And we have about 7 security agencies doing this, coordinated especially by the DSSS, Directorate of State Security. The police has role to play, the Navy has role to play, the Army has role to play, even the security defense has role to play. Then the military intelligence, the Directorate of Military Intelligence, play a very, very great role. The DSS now coordinate, even the NIA, which is what CIA is to America, because DSS is to Nigeria what FBI is to America. The NIA plays role. Then the security, all the security report will now be coordinated by the DSSS. And when they finish with this, they send through copies, five duplicated in 5 places, back to the president, that this our finding. Don't forget, this was what hooked Ibrahim Magu down, why he could not become executive chairman of EFCC. He acted for 5.5 years and he was thrown out. Then the president, by law, will now attach the reports to each of the nominees' file to the Senate. Now the question is this: all the security agencies in Nigeria, including the DSS that coordinated, did not know that this woman had been assigned in a batch number of service at a time in a year with the mandatory number of years that she must serve or due to every other you cover must have, because it comes with a batch and you have mandatorily legally stipulated number of months you have to serve, that it was done in 20-something and the woman did not finish, and the law was specifically mandatory of what such person who escaped or who absconded or who went whatever must be done to. So are you saying that this all these security agencies did not attach this report, nor did they not know that the woman being nominated is now serving in another batch? Did they not know? So it doesn't matter either portfolio is attached or not, the security report must be there. But so having said that, let's come back to the question you asked me. Either those appointed now, confirmed and appointed now, either they are every good reason to believe that we would land in Edora.
No, not just about that. I mean, the appointment, the choice of the ministry, was the focus of the president.
I will give you only one example. Before now, every person believed that Oluwakayode would be Minister of Information, Strategic and Co. Because that was the office he had when he was in Lagos. His was the first office of information, that Minister of Information, that an attachment was made, strategic. He was the first person in Nigeria to gain that.
Okay.
Before even the corporate individual corporate organization now started appointing manager for strategic information. But what happened at the tail end? We now discovered that Alakena emerged in mineral resources. Am I right?
Solid minerals.
Solid mineral. And there must be a reason for that. Because Dele Alake is a man that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has much confidence upon. Much. Even as a commissioner, he made him to act as governor when he was going on leave, as against the Madam Paint, who was the deputy governor then. So it tells you that President Bola Tinubu would have discussed with Dele, like I said, Dele, you are not coming here. Go to this place. Because if the truth was, he had come out with a roadmap, and he announced to us that the GDP 50% of it, funding of the 50% of it will come from that ministry. And as a matter of fact, if you know what is happening in Zamfara State alone, if you know what is happening in Zamfara State alone, if you know what is happening in Borni alone, where there is a jail that is the costliest in the whole world, and that is which was why Boko Haram was born. If you know this, then you will say, oh, the president will get on. And if you listen to what Dele Alaki had just said,
yes,
you will know. But performances beyond this, it goes beyond this moment of celebrations. It is continuity in doing the right thing, and that will be detected by the man who appointed them. If the man in between the line tells them that this is what I will talk with public. If you bring me society, you are in trouble. Then all of us have been victim of our casualty of inconsistency.
All right. So let's go to Bayelsa, as this might be some of the closing remarks as well, where we have Mr. Ugochukwu. Mr. Ugochukwu, you've seen this president talk about, a special investigator set up that office to investigate CBN and other related agencies and activities. You've seen that take place. And looking at the security as well, having three key persons, two former governors who were in charge of states that were plagued with high level of insecurity, and a respected, reputable security expert in person of Nuhu Ribadu. Let's merge these two together. In terms of security and corruption, what has been the president's performance and reaction thus far?
Well, what I see is just of what has been happening all over the in previous administration. You see, Buhari administration came with the mantra of fighting corruption and wrestling corruption to the ground. And of course, I did a project for 4 years out of 8 years of Buhari administration on anti-corruption in this country, covering up to 10 states. Including working with the AFCC, with the same Magu, we work together and all that. And I was surprised when Magu is being held down for anti-corruption. It was for corruption, it was an anti-climax for me. So personally, I don't get carried away with all this, because to listen to what is happening in the Mefele case now, they are mostly the issue of play bargain and all that. And the situation where we have this play bargain, what it will do is to embolden the next person to steal as much as possible, get arrested in some kind of media trial charade, and at the end of the day, they settle everything in a plea bargain arrangement. So long as we are going in cycle like this, we can never get any problem solved. And that gets back to the issue of appointment that we have now. Appointment in this country is faulty. We have a society where we have outsourced the running of the government to the politician wholesale. Most of these ministerial appointments are compilation of political interest. And by the time they put them there, they are there to fulfill the interests of those that nominated them for that appointment. So we should be looking at practicing our own version of democracy, which is somehow technocracy when it comes to running the government. By the time we are done electing the leaders and all that, then when it comes to running the affairs of the state, we're looking at technocrats that understand this particular task of running the government. Or we look at people that are completely free of any political leaning and all that. So now coming to security, yes, having no Ribadu is fine. There's no law that says that a former police officer cannot be the NSA and all that, but we're looking at performance. Okay. They have the guts to to go for the jugular of those that are causing insecurity in this country, because we are preview of the fact that they have the dossier in their kitty. You know, those that are sponsoring terrorism. The UAE have indicted some Nigerians. Same thing with Interpol and all that. Can they go after these guys so that this issue of insecurity can be solved? Okay, the man that is Minister of Defense now failed woefully in ensuring that there is security in his state, and he's now Minister of Defense. So maybe he need more power, and that power has been given to him now. So we are hoping that this time around, maybe he's going to wield it seriously to ensure that we curb this insecurity across the country. Whether we like it or not, most Nigerians are still suffering under insecurity. In most states in the north, they are still under the occupation of these bandits. In most states of the north, some of the indigenes in their ancestral home have been turned to slave by these bandits in gold mine and all manner of mines across the country. So it's something that the NSA and the service chief and all the people saddled with the responsibility of protecting this country should close in on these bandits. Because if we are mostly the idea of invading Niger to restore democracy, and we can't solve the insecurity in our country, that leaves the question if we are actually serious in fighting the insecurity in this country. It's not an upgrade tax. Why they are calling Nigeria to come and lead the commodities, that they know the capacity of Nigerian military. Prof is there in NDA. He knows the capacity and the kind of training they give to Nigerian military. If they are serious in covering this insecurity, it won't take more than 1 week. This bandit will be done with. So the NSA, the SSS, the NIA, and all the ones involved should ensure that they take this issue seriously, because if there's no security in this country, all these things we are talking, there's nothing Tinubu can do.
All right.
Tinubu cannot Zamfara and administer the administration there. Tinubu cannot be in Bayelsa or in Southeast. Everybody needs to play their role so that this country get back to track.
All right, Mr. Ogochukwu, coming to you, Prof. And on that note of the governors, Tinubu not being able to go to all the states, in this country of ours, do we have, what is our understanding as Nigerians? What is our understanding of governance? Which role does the governor play? Does the failure of the president can it be influenced by the nonchalance or non-performance of governors? Or can the failure of the governors be influenced by the nonchalance or non-performance of the president? And thus far, does it look like we might get a proper relationship between the president and the governors to take Nigeria to that promised land? I see the Guru shaking his head that no. Do unmute kindly, sir. Kindly unmute your device before. The Guru is shaking. They say, are you shaking in disapproval or we seem to have lost Prof there. The line is frozen there. But the Guru, let me bring that question to you. Then when Prof joins, we'll come back. The governors, the presidents, how do we move on? Do we see a relationship that could bring about the change required in Nigeria?
One of the greatest organizations in Nigeria today that will always be the greatest enemy of practicing democracy or democratic institution is the Nigeria Governance Forum. It is the Nigeria Governance Forum. We are deceiving ourselves. For example, constitutionally, many things have gone wrong.
Okay.
The Constitution recognizes that there are 3 tiers of government in Nigeria: the federal government, the state government, and the local government. The same Constitution now equally gave approval to monthly meeting of sharing money from FAC, or what do you call it? Federal Executive
Allocation.
Right.
Committee.
Now, and the same Constitution now provided that only one account must be operated between the state government and the local government. And they are tiers of government equal and appropriately sharing the same, given the number of people and the land. And the Constitution had shared the responsibility between the exclusive and the concurrent list, and now the same Constitution says that your allocation, the money to you, will go into one account. And the Constitution, therefore, at the initial, without pronouncing, recognize senior brother in this mission. Now, a local government chairman had just raised an issue in Ogun State, say, my governor have always been diverting this. It now takes the DSSS to move in, to be tormenting that local government chairman. And you will not hear anybody to speak from that local government that, no, this is what is happening. Which of the local government do you see working? And the facts remain known that the governors muzzle the local government chairman. It is a well-known fact. We should not run away from it. Even President Buhari, even in non-active posture, he told us on television one day that he knew a particular governor who is very, very close friend of his, that he knows what he does, that whenever he collected the money, he will not invite the local government chairman, come and take your money, it has arrived. And when he get there, he will give the paper, first of all, sign that you have 300 million. It was President Buhari that told us this. And he mentioned that the governor was his personal friend. He now said that when the man will not sign for 300 million, after signing, when the governor would have collected that paper, which is now evident that the man collected the money, he will not give 100 million. Another local government chairman, a princess in Ondo State, let me not mention the name in Ekiti State, equally came and level allegation against the governor then, John Kayode, and that this is the amount I receive every month from him. And I signed paper for this amount before I received it. The one in Ogun State now, the man probably will be lavishing in the detention center, what they call the Yellow House of DSSS, who has spoken. So the governors, they are the greatest danger. Now, because we talk of the federal government only, we talk of the federal government. If you look at the sharing formula, how much is the federal government getting? How much goes to the state and the local government? But the governor now will combine the state with the local government together into his pocket. And they will decide things. And if the president is not willing to do what they decided, they blackmail the president. Wow. In most cases, they blackmail them.
All right.
Yeah? So the synergy that we are thinking now, under the president, it takes a man with the type of heart that Ebora Owu from Balan has, Obasanjo, who is a principality and power, to deal with them. But otherwise, they are easily blackmailing. For example, when the matter of who will run, it's only 3 governors that start up and say, okay, it will be for our best interest to do it. And they did it. So I cannot see the answer to what you are requesting.
I see you just narrated. I didn't want to focus on that. Okay, so we need to bring this home. We're actually eating into the time for the midday show, being a Monday, and I would like to thank everybody for coming. But as we bring it home, let's touch down in Bayelsa. If we still have Mr. Ugochukwu right there with us, Mr. Ugochukwu. I think we've lost the Prof, we just lost him there. The network, rather.
This is coming to Ugochukwu is back.
Yeah, Ugochukwu is back.
This Prof, losing the Prof is coming towards the end of the show.
Of the show, yeah. That's it. So, Mr. Ugochukwu, looking at the way it is now, what must the president do to achieve 2 things? First of all, reignite hope in Nigerians, and secondly, achieve and run a very successful government? What must he do? Does it have to do with ministry? Is it a policy? Is it a directive? What really must he do? If you can do that for me in like 1 minute.
I think 2 things. You need to look at the policies, and secondly, you need to look at the directives. Policy in the sense that they should not be in a hurry to perform, because it is his quest to be in a hurry to perform that is giving him all this policy somersault that he's having. So if you think his policy deeply with think tanks and not political jobbers before you jump into the press and start telling people that this is the coming policy. Look at the palliative issue, for instance. Now started from 8,000, now you are back to 5 billion per state. And the question you're asking is that, did he learn anything from the COVID-19 palliative? And that's if he did. Because as we speak now, we are putting an eye on the state governors to know what they're going to do with the 5 billion palliative that have been given to the country. So he should review his policy. If it will take him the next 3 months,
all right,
to do his policy, to review his policy, that will be fine. With
think
tanks,
all right.
Then finally, directives to give matching orders with reasonable scorecards to all the ministers that he has just appointed. Most of them are doing party to celebrate the appointment and all that, as if they don't know that there are serious work to do. We didn't appoint them to do parties. They should hit the ground running, and these are the directives we should give them, especially that of petroleum, which I'm sure he's going to put himself as a minister, and that of security and the economy should give these three people matching orders to ensure that they put this country back in.
Okay. And now when it comes to economy, we don't know if to box all the solid minerals and coal under that. But Mr. Kunu, we're going to feature you a lot in this. So much to discuss, but definitely we'll have more time for you. Let's wrap this up in 1 minute for me.
Well, I just have to say that the age of stupidity should be over, and that everybody should come into the consciousness of wanting to help provide a solution. We keep referring to the facts of the matter when we talk about Nigeria. It only behooves us to actually take on those facts and use it when we speak. I'm looking forward to a situation where the president will be at a forum and journalists will ask him, sir, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. But oftentimes many media professionals they don't have their balls in place. So when they find themselves in such meetings, they really cannot ask questions that will make the president shake beneath his feet. I've been to places where I've had to ask the former vice president very dangerous questions.
All right.
And he was taken off guard. So I think that any opportunity media professionals have, you have to put them on their toes, because first, that's our responsibility. And secondly, I think we should resolve to have a country that works. Many young persons also should understand that life within the real activity of human beings is more demanding than the social platforms.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The Guru, sir. It's a Monday. Let's end Oluwakayode and the Guru.
Yes. Please keep yourself out of trouble within the next 7 days, where we shall be meeting again in a heavy manner. And again, may God preserve President Bola Tinubu so that he can deliver to us. But as long, this is my own perspective, as long as the man found it difficult to probe into a few things, few dangerous things that the former president committed against Nigeria, which he will find difficult to do because he was the national leader of the APC for those 8 years, meaning he led the APC government committing those blunders against Nigeria. As long as he will be unable to probe into this thing, the difficulty of leaving the woods to the road might not be an easy journey to Jerusalem. So it's going to be a long trek to freedom, courtesy of Mandela.
Wow. And that means that if you want to bring it home to the younger generation, if you're still sitting down, they'll be sitting on a long thing. Anyway, we'll draw the curtain here. This is day one. We're looking at governance. It's not that heated, but tomorrow we'll be getting into more heated activities. We're talking education. We're talking economic. We're talking so many things going on right now in Nigeria. Do not change that down. We want to thank Professor David. You want to call the food here? Oluwatoba Alabi, Professor of Federalism and Strategic Studies, joining us all the way from Kaduna, that's the Nigerian Defense Academy, and Mr. James Ugochukwu. Thank you for making our time for your tight schedule in Bayelsa. We're going to any extent to bring you the right hands, the right voices that will make Nigerians think, influence us to reason, and demand for our rights. My name is Oluwakayode. We draw the curtain here on this special edition of Oluwakayode and the Guru. Of course, it's 100-day review. Today is governance. Tomorrow, do not change that dial. It gets hotter as we get into the week. Tomorrow actually makes it 100 days.